Yo, what's going on YouTube? This your boy Kamen Zero Spike. Back again once again today, people. Today we're here for Avataro Sentai Donbrothers episode 19. And yeah, this was kind of like a filler episode, but it's also a beautiful, tragic love story. Also, we got Muramasa in there. Murasame, my bad. We got Murasame in there just to cause some trouble, whatever. Didn't do nothing, but okay. So yeah, this episode is basically about we ended up finding it's basically like a payphone thing, talking about how payphones and how payphones went up and declined and things like that. And we see that we end up our characters end up battling they end up battling a Hitotsuki that is they can't hit it. It's intangible. So they try to figure out why, but turns out they can't hit it. That's when Haruka ends up seeing this girl inside of the payphone. We see that these guys were coming to tear down the payphone, but the Hitotsuki came out of the payphone and basically tried to run them off. But we see this girl, she's in the payphone, and then we see that her name is Minako, and she's there waiting for her her pen pal slash person she fell in love with named Shinzo. She's waiting for him to call her. So it turns out Minako is a ghost. Minako is a ghost that hasn't passed on yet, and because she's still waiting for Shinzo to call her. You see that Haruka goes back and takes Mikuno to the rest of the takes her back to the cafe, and the rest of we see that Kijino and Blue don't they don't believe her. They don't believe her until then when they hold their breath for some reason they're able to see her. So also, she can make herself invisible, stuff like that, so everyone can see her eventually. So she basically, they basically talked to her about the whole Shinzo thing. Turns out Shinzo and her were pen pals and stuff, and they actually planned on meeting each other. But turns out that Shinzo, she was on her way there to the payphone. She ended up dying, and that was 50 years ago. So they basically go on a search to find this Shinzo guy. But we see that Haruka hasn't really been able to find him. So Kijino, he says that, oh, I think I heard that name before. And we see that Kijino, he actually ends up finding this guy Shinzo. So while that's going on, we end up seeing that Mikino kind of has a crush on Tsubasa, and also has a crush on Taro. So she basically just spends time with them, and Taro likes her because she can eat as many onigiri as him. So he ends up taking her skydiving. He transforms into his Robotaro form, and he flies her around the city. We also see that she's hanging out with Tsubasa, and she sees a dog, and Tsubasa's like, oh, you like dogs, huh? And he turns into his ranger form just for her to flaunt over him. And with Kaito kind of ruined it for her. We see that Kaito ends up rolling up on a Harley in like a Elvis outfit, and he gets a bunch of attention from a bunch of women. And yeah, so she does tell Haruka she does like spending time with all of them, but she really wants Shinzo. So he has to see that Kijino ends up finding this man. He ends up finding this man's name and calls him up. It's been 50 years. So Shinzo is an old man now. So we see that they get ready to we see that she ends up going back to Mikino ends up going back to the payphone, and then that's when Shinzo, he calls the payphone from the cafe, which I didn't think you could do that, but he calls her and she starts talking to him. And then that's when, while she's talking to him, that's why the guys who came to tear down the payphone, they end up showing up again. And that's when her Hitotsuki appears again. And then that's when you find out that the Hitotsuki that was attacking was hers. So it turns out people can, like, even ghosts can have Hitotsukis. That was actually a weird thing because I questioned that. I'm like, okay, so even in death, you can still have strong desires. Well, it makes sense because she hadn't passed on yet, so she was a wandering spirit. But we see that our heroes end up battling this Hitotsuki again, and they just can't hit it. And while they're battling it, she ends up raging out and she turns giant. And I think this is the first time we've seen someone's Hitotsuki go from its little form to its big form without it having to be destroyed. I think this is the first time that happens. But yeah, so they're fighting. So they end up having to fight this Hitotsuki, and while it's in this giant form, and they still can't hit it. So we see that the only way for this Hitotsuki to be destroyed is for her to pass on, basically find peace with herself. So they're just fighting it off or whatever, and she's still talking to Shinzo, and that's when Jiru tries to shows up and tries to help out, but he is ambushed by Don Murasame, and we get a really cool fight between Jiru and Murasame. And yeah, so that happens, and we see that she ends up like getting closure, I guess, with Shinzo. And we actually see her backstory of where like she was on her way to the payphone, but she ended up getting hit by Truck-san or Truck-kun. She ends up getting hit by a truck, and she ends up dying, and that's the day she died. And that was 50 years later. Oh man. And then after that, she says goodbye to Shinzo, and she tells thank you to the rest of the Donbrothers, and that's when she passes on. After that, we see her Hitotsuki basically powers down, like it just stops moving, and they ended up destroying the Hitotsuki. And yeah, she ended up destroying the Hitotsuki, and that's also, we see that Jiru did ended up defeating he did beat Murasame. Then Murasame just got up and ran off. But yeah, this is it was a short, like, little filler type episode. Nothing nothing really all that spontaneous, really. I like the fact that they did actually spend time with her. I like how bubbly and things like that, how she was. And I was glad that she was able to actually like find peace and stuff like that when it came down to it. And when it came in the whole thing of ghosts being able to have Hitotsukis, that was like, wow. So like even in death, your strongest desires can still birth a Hitotsuki, which, I mean, it still makes sense. It just, hey, you're a ghost this time. But other than that, though, this was a fun episode, a little filler type episode going on. But I want to know what you guys think. So you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of Avataro Sentai Donbrothers episode 19. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Remember, stay Henshin.